hear a lot of so now with the proliferation of social media and the exchange and velocity of knowledge between people, there is this underlining narrative now that's percolating up to mainstream is teaching financial literacy in school. It's certainly like elementary school. Rather than, I mean, the juxtaposition of that argument is like, why do we need to teach our kids pi? We should be teaching them about a savings account and a bank account. And so I am certainly a believer of teaching kids financial literacy when they're small. And it's not just teaching them, it's actually giving them money. And I know that's probably a foreign notion and maybe a little bit dangerous, but giving your children money, giving them $100. I mean, what $100 to a 5-year-old? I mean, not even a 5-year-old. $100 to an 8-year-old, it seems like $100,000 to them. And so, giving them a small amount of money, giving them a debit card, and teaching them about money and how to spend money, how to use a debit card. Because listen, I remember when I first got a debit card, I would use that on everything. I thought that I had an unlimited amount of money when I had a debit card. And that's not even taking into consideration when I got my first credit card. And my first credit card had a $500 balance on it, or had a $500 limit on it. But even still, I thought that I was the richest man in the world with a $500 credit card. But so teaching your kids about the credit and financial literacy and bank accounts and debit cards, teaching them young certainly will pay off as they get older. Furthermore, teaching them skills. I mean, so when you have $100, when you give them $100, that opens up a myriad of different avenues where you can take financial literacy. You can then take them to, how to buy things on sale, or, how to put away $5 a month into a savings account. And so these are all different avenues, different options, and different lessons of financial literacy that you could then branch off of just by giving them a bank account with $100.
No, and I think, again, I definitely think financial literacy is a big part of it. And I think I wholeheartedly agree with you as far as that should be taught in schools and, as a kid, are young as possible, that to the fact that they can comprehend it. I just think that's half of the puzzle. I think let them be able to balance a budget. So give them $100,000 a year to play with. Not literally give them, but give them a scenario where they have $100,000 a year and they have to make sense of that from a financial literacy standpoint. You give them $40,000 a year from a budget standpoint and have them make sense of that. And I think they're going to find that it's a lot more like satisfaction, or a lot more. You can do a lot more with $100,000 a year compared to having that $40,000 a year. Mm-hmm. And then I think being able to teach them that from a financial literacy perspective, I think that will maybe open their eyes even more so they're not just getting that financial literacy part of it in terms of saving, investing, and things like that, but also like, man, I can make $100,000 go a lot further and grow a lot more over time compared to this other scenario. And then I think the question becomes, okay, how do I get the $100,000 a year as opposed to how do I just get the $40,000? So I agree with financial literacy and starting that young as possible. But I think, again, this is kind of my belief. I just think that, just having $40,000 or $50,000 a year, and I can be, it's almost like having Einstein and giving them limited equipment. That's why I think the United States is such a superpower, because we play with the high-end toys, as opposed to, I think it's people just as smart in other countries, but they're not playing with the type of toys the high-end toys that we play with. And they're not, I mean, that their money is limited based on, or their, what they can make out of their situation is limited based on the money that they're given. And I think that's what kind of differentiates the U.S. from a lot of other countries. So I just think that financial literacy is important, but I also think that, especially maybe this is African-American community thing as well, where a lot of the things that, the horrible thing that I've seen over the years in the areas I grew up in, similar areas, has come from the standpoint of a lack of money. So I think if you give these same people, $40,000 or $50,000 a year, whether or not they love what they're doing or not, I just think that it almost not only doesn't solve things, but it it almost doesn't want them to be better. I think that's why, you know, especially again in our African American community, we look up to the entertainers and athletes because they're playing with so much money, and it seems like their life, at least from the outside looking in, is so great because they can buy you all these things. And obviously, we know life is not just about material things and being able to buy stuff like that, but they're looking at something that it just seems at least exciting to them, that, you know, have all this money, or looking at other people with all this money and just being able to live this particular lifestyle. So no, yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I think that's a